Oh, perfect. Apologies for that. Just had some audio issues there. Hope everyone has had a lovely, lovely end to their week. Welcome to another episode of The Whitepill. And yeah, lots to talk about today. It's going to be a great show, as per usual. We finally found out what our government wanted in China, which, interestingly enough, I'm not all that surprised by how these trade negotiations have gone and what has happened. I'm more surprised by, just absolutely how brazen these people are. Like they just don't give a shit. Our representatives just lie to everyone's face, and they dress it up in some flowery language, but it means absolutely fuck all. Like it actually just means nothing. Yeah, it's weird. It's like you're getting gaslit all the time, which I understand. Like that's typically how politics work. You're trying to send a positive spin or some kind of spin on the action that you're undertaking, and so part of that is, theatrics or cleverness, right? The kind of words that you use, the kind of people that you force to speak on your behalf or make deals. I understand that it's Machiavellian to an extent. I get it. I'm not blind to it. It's just it feels weird as an adult. As a kid, you grow up and you're told, oh, there's adults, there's people that know what's going on, and you just see them floundering on the national stage, and it is just the absolute. I don't know. It's the most oddest sensation ever, because here we are to believe that these people run everything and they control many facets of our lives. The government doesn't control everything, but they control a lot. And they're just up there on the world stage making fools of themselves and their nation as a result. It's such a weird sensation getting used to that. But in any case, before we get into all that rigmarole, of which there is much, just as a reminder, if you want to support the stream, like, comment, subscribe. I want to hear what you guys say. I'll read the comments every now and then, right? But yeah, if you want to support the stream, that'd be the best way to do it. Otherwise, I don't read chat. I only do it at the end of stream if there is like a pertinent question. But if you want a question answered, then by all means head to the PayPal. It's the first link there at my bio.link/whitepill site. Description is going to be, or link rather, is going to be in the description as per always. And I've actually started doing a new thing where, let me show you guys. I've started adding sources to my episodes. So you'll see in the description here, like for the Rumble link to today's sources. And it will provide you a link to all the sources that I used for these episodes. Because, as I always like to say, we bring the receipts on this show. And so to kind of help compile that, help keep the audience informed on where they can find all this, I've made these links public. You can't edit them, but you can certainly look at them. But yeah, all the links, everything that I use there, photos, videos, what have you, they'll be up there. It's going to be in the description of every single episode from now on. And so with that being said, let's get into today's show. It feels kind of weird doing this talk because I didn't think that it would go to this point, but I guess we're on there's a trilogy of the Mr. Carney Goes to China trip. Not the final episode that I'll be doing on this. I'm sure I'll be bringing up this issue many times because it is nothing short of insane. Is not even the word that I want to use, but it is just it's incredible how much they're trying to sell, and by they I mean our government, how they're trying to sell us on the idea that making a deal with China is better than making a deal with the US. And the amount of people I saw on Twitter today, and not just your average take seller shit poster, I mean like people like journalists, people that work in organizations, business owners, even politicians in some instances, praise what our government has been doing in China, it is. I mean, it just feels like a betrayal. Like this is not at all congruent or in any way aligned with the idea of Canada first. You know, people say that some of the arguments that I saw made was, oh, we're going to get so much more market share with China, and this will open up all new opportunities for business and industry. At the end of the day, we're getting fucked. We're getting fucked, and the only people that are enriching themselves is Mark Carney and anybody who has a company that stands to benefit. And even then, I mean, the amount that we're losing on this deal, on these deals, is much more than we're actually gaining. Because this goes beyond trade, right? This is the first trip to China that a prime minister has made in Canada for a decade now, right? And I mentioned it last stream, but I dug a little deeper and I found out why that is. And the reason for it is because when Trudeau made his initial trip in 2017, right, almost 10 years ago, he essentially tried to high road the Chinese delegates into accepting terms where his, how do I put it? His social ideas, or ideas rather about how society should be run, were apparently attached to many of the points the Chinese wanted to actively discuss, like, we'll trade you, this share of the market for this share, or, you can set up factories to process this kind of resource. And all of that, Trudeau decided to put his fucking DEI LGBTQ shit. Like he tried to impart a sense of morality on the Chinese during this deal. And I'm not even saying that because of some headlines. This is straight from our dear great national state-sponsored media, right? The headline reads, Trudeau's progressive trade agenda with Chinese seen as arrogant, say critics. And this is what Trudeau said. If we move forward with simply straight classic trade deals that focus on tariffs and barriers, then we are going to find ourselves in a world where protectionism and inward thinking is the only option. All right, that's the only quote that they have of him in this entire article. And I mean, just the balls that it takes to go to another country where you are not native, where you're trying to make inroads with people and you're trying to elevate them, teach them about morality. It is just the most arrogant thing a person can do, let alone a nation leader. Like, he's speaking on behalf of all of us. He's representing the entire country. And this is how he decides to behave in China. And look, I may not be a scholar in ancient, or not ancient, but just Chinese history, right? These people have thousands of years of history. And though I may have never picked up a book, I know enough about China to know that human rights is not exactly in their top 10 list of concerns. Okay, like, this is not something that the Chinese government representatives are walking around just, oh man, how do we got to think of the people. We really just got to think of the people. They're not doing that. They're not fucking doing that. They're famously known for suppressing the rights of protesters, of people that make news, right? Any media, every single movie that gets developed in Disney has to be censored in a certain way so that it can appear in a Chinese market. And this always makes headlines, right? In Top Gun, right? I remember this. This is very famous. Top Gun Taiwan. There's a Taiwanese flag, like on one of the patches of one of the pilots, I think. Yeah, refers to the controversy and discussion surrounding the inclusion of the Taiwanese flag patch on Maverick's bomber jacket in Top Gun Maverick. Right, this popped up in a trailer. The Chinese flipped shit. I mean, completely. They just straight up said, we're not going to run your movie then. We're not going to let Top Gun air. And they have a huge share of the market when it comes to the global movie-going audience. I mean, these companies would not be bending the knee otherwise. Every Avengers movie Star Wars movie. I'm pretty sure the Star Wars marketing for the marketing for the Chinese film, I think they removed him from the poster altogether. Yeah, there it is. I guess the blacks don't like, or sorry, the Chinese don't like the blacks. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, they just completely just removed him from the movie poster. Like he wasn't even there. He's in the fucking movie. What do they do? Fucking did they give him one of those hentai blurs? Like how my face is now, the pixelation. Is that what they did for every scene that he's in? And dub his voice with a white man. Right. So all I'm saying is, right, China is known for doing shit like this. They have a whole industry built on this. Okay, the only way that their country can function is if they operate like this. Right? They subjugate their own people, and not just people within their nation. They subjugate people across the world. If you're Chinese and you have ties to China, like your parents are back home or you have a business or what have you, they will use that as a pressure point to get you to do things or to not do things, right? They're infamous for that. And so Trudeau decides to come to a country like this, a country that thinks in 5-year plans. Xi Jinping has been in power for how long? Xi Jinping, how long in power? Excuse the improper sentence structure. (2013). This guy's been in power for 3 consecutive terms. Right? China thinks years ahead. They don't have to deal with elections. They don't have to deal with this constant bickering of the left and the right. They just have the state. Okay, so going there as a Canadian and trying to preach anything to these people, to their representatives rather, that like what are you looking to achieve? Right? So Trudeau has his own little tour. Nothing came of that visit. Absolutely nothing. They didn't make any significant deals. Nothing of note anyways. So, I mean, you know what? If anything, because I was shit talking to people on Twitter earlier, but if anything, that's actually great. That's great that we had a guy that completely shit the bed so fucking hard that he literally couldn't even make a deal with China. Like, of all the countries to preach to, you know, it would have been one thing if he went to, like, let's say Poland and tried that. I think the Polish would at least like laugh and kind of be like, all right, well, whatever, we're here to trade, so let's figure something out. But China? Okay. All right, good fucking luck, dude. So it's actually kind of a blessing. Kind of a blessing that it didn't work out. But in any case, right, as the timeline goes, in 2018, only a couple months after this visit, the Huawei chief financial officer by the name of Meng Wanzhou, hope I'm pronouncing that right, was arrested during a stopover in Vancouver after U.S. authorities requested her extradition on fraud and bank fraud charges linked to alleged violations of U.S. sanctions in Iran. And this is the source here. Obviously, like I said, I'll be including it in the description. Has the entire timeline of the of what happened. And so shortly after this arrest, right, the reason that it was made is because the U.S. and Canada, they have an agreement, right? I believe it's called the, simple enough, the Canada-U.S. extradition treaty. Right, because of that, the U.S. made an order to Canada. Because of this treaty, Canada had to follow it. And they were legally obliged to act on the U.S. warrant, and so Meng was detained and released on bail with strict conditions while the case played out in the courts. Now, 9 days after her arrest, China detained 2 Canadian citizens, one Michael Kovrig, who was a former diplomat, and Michael Spavor, a businessman, they were put under arrest for state secret and espionage allegations. I mean, like, I understand that spies these days, whenever we hear a story of them coming out and they're releasing their identities, they always look like normal people for the most part. You know, they don't look like a James Bond or a Henry Cavill type person. That's not what's happening. You know, as much as we'd love to believe it, but they're average people because they can blend in. And even regardless of these charges, I mean, the trial that they had in China was closed to the public. No evidence was presented, so nobody could see what happened. It lasted like all of 2 hours, I believe, at least according to the Michaels. And what is the last thing? One second here. Oh, yes, I guess that's it. Yeah, the trials are closed to the public. No evidence was made, or no evidence was rather presented, and only lasted a few hours. And it took them 3 years to get released. 3 years. Now, during this time, right, while this trial was going on with the arrest of Meng, China was essentially just going out and saying, "Oh, but these two things are not related. These guys are actually guilty. Like they're actually guilty. We have evidence, and they're guilty." Right? They kept just playing this storyline. Made it very uncomfortable for Trudeau to deal with China because now, well, like, how do you? He's kind of put it in a vice because of this existing agreement with the U.S. He has to comply with it, but his compliance with it means that China's leaving him out in the cold. Right? Because one way or another, we buy a good chunk of our imports from China, whether it's basic medication, almost everything in Dollarama, right? iPhones, what have you. You know, the world, I mean, if China went away and all the products that we use that were in any way tied to China went away tomorrow, the world would come to a standstill, right? They're an integral part of the global market. And so eventually when she's released, I'm just laughing because I mean this purely like this tells us the truth. Don't look at what the politicians say. Look at actually what they do, right? Once the trial was over, and the U.S. decided to release her because they made an agreement, right? They reached a deal with her. As soon as they released her and she made it back home to China, only hours later were the Michaels released. Literally hours later, and they just flew back home immediately. What a coincidence. What a coincidence. So that is part of the backdrop for Mr. Carney's visit, right? This is the last major interaction that we've had with China. This little show trial here, right? Let's see if we can get a... There's no photo of them getting released? Really? Come on, there's got to be a photo. That's insane. You can't just... fucking CBC, what the fuck are we paying them $1 billion for? There we go. Show them getting off the airport. I'm sorry, the airplane, rather. Right, so this is the backdrop. This is everything that happens before. Now, I went into detail about this in the last show, but just as a quick reminder, okay, just if you happen to just forget, right? Here's a short list of all this shit that China's done to fuck with Canada. The Canadian Border Services Agency seizes hundreds of liters of precursor chemicals from China used to produce fentanyl. So all the chemicals that are used to make fentanyl, right? Instead of just shipping it like fent itself, you can just ship the precursors because some of them are actually, just legal chemicals. But I mean, in large enough quantities, the cops kind of put two and two together and realize, hey, this can actually be used to make fent, right? Same rules for meth, right? And I mean, this is just one package they seized, right? I mean, these amounts are ludicrous. This is enough to, I don't even know how many doses you could make with this, but this is not for a street dealer. This is not some this is not even some Walter White shit. This is cartel linked or gang linked in some way. An organization is dealing and processing with this. Right? So they send in, I mean, essentially pallets of synthetic opioids into our nation, poison our people. Right? The fentanyl crisis never went away. It's still ongoing. Almost every single day I'm in Toronto, I see somebody that's on fent or doing fent. almost every single day without a fail, or somebody that has withdrawals. It is prevalent. I mean, it is so prevalent that British Columbia, right, the province all the way out west, they had a trial, and this is going to be in another episode, because this story is crazy in and of itself. They had a trial run of a policy that allowed them to decriminalize drugs, right? Because BC has one of the main ports of access. Canada only has, like, really realistically two. It's the east or the west, right? And BC gets so much traffic through there, so many drugs coming in off the boats, that they decided that it would be best to decriminalize it. And holy shit, did it run rampant. It destroyed communities, killed so many people unnecessarily. Like, there was no need to allow this. Of all the things to crack down on in Canada, you know, we don't, like, we look to our bigger brother in the United States downstairs with how they're treating these ICE raids, right? Or the occasional DEA raid that we see footage of. That's what we should be doing in Canada. And the fact that we aren't is nothing short of insane. I mean, we are doing this to ourselves. We're letting this happen to our community to the point where a province gets an exemption, or at least some cities in the provinces, rather, not the entire province, I believe. They get an exemption on drug legality. That's crazy. That's crazy. It killed so many people and destroyed so many lives, and they just canceled the program. Is anybody going to go to jail for that? Or is it just going to be another fucking whoopsie daisy? Sorry, we thought this policy would work. We thought it would work. Even though everyone told them, like, you shouldn't be paying. The taxpayer should not be paying for people to do drugs, because that's what it turned into. It turned into the fact that people had to pay taxes so that these people that are smoking this shit, injecting this shit, they get free crack pipes. They get a safe, warm place to do it. Jesus fucking Christ. Like, of course that's going to just bleed out into the greater community, way outside of the downtown core. Just absolutely decimate entire streets where it's no longer safe. Like, it's no longer safe to walk them. And not just at night, at any time of day. You don't know who's going to flip their shit or go berserk or stab somebody. Like, what have you? You know, we just have these streets in North America that you just can't walk down on at any point. Cool. What the fuck, man? Insane. Anyways, so China's been thoroughly poisoning us, right? This is just one raid. This is one seizure that happened this past October. There have been plenty more. This is just but one example, and it's been happening for years, and it's all coming out of China because fentanyl is from China. Here's another example of China fucking with us. Here's them meddling in our election. Quote, CSIS warned Prime Minister's office in 2023 that China clandestinely and deceptively interfered in elections. Top secret document claims that at least 11 candidates, 13 staffers were implicated in foreign interference. And the names of those people, never known to the public. We had a whole investigation about it. The whoever the special investigator was, she found that that there was interference, but apparently it wasn't enough to sway the election. Strangely enough, it wasn't enough somehow. How do you quantify that? Like, do you meet a certain threshold? Is it like a fucking video game? You hit the guy enough and he dies? Like, the fuck are we talking about? If there is, if there's foreign interference during an election, how does that not call for intervention? I mean, this isn't even Russiagate. Russiagate wasn't even provable, right? They found that they had some fucking bot farms, and they paid people to show up to events, but they weren't like buying Trump. They didn't own him. He wasn't an agent, right? And even the people around him, they found them for what? They passed money among each other, or like campaign finances or some shit. Like, nothing ever came of that. And here we have a direct example where like CSIS knows these people's names. Their names are on the list somewhere. Heavily redacted, not accessible to many people, but their names are on a list. They exist somewhere. We know who these people are. Why aren't they in fucking prison? Are you fucking kidding me? We have agents of a foreign government, or at least, you know what? Maybe not agents of a foreign government, right? Canadians who are duplicitous, actively or passively, which is benefiting another nation's interest, and they are shaping the political structure of Canada to better fit the needs of an alien, not an alien, but a rogue nation. Look, once again, okay, I realize like this is a well I'm going to keep coming back on, but we used to hang people for that shit. Right? That's how seriously we took it, because that's treason. That's a treasonous action. You're behaving in a treasonous way. I don't know what other word to use. That's why I really don't feel bad about making this the dead horse that I'm going to beat for the rest of the show. Right? Because I don't know what other word besides treason to use. We don't know these people's names. No consequences came of it. Nobody spent any time in prison. These people are still in power for all we know. Right? Because with all these resignations that come and go, how do we know they're an agent? How do we know? How do we know? There's speculation that there's a member of the Supreme Court or something is also involved, but who knows? Who knows? Until they release those names, we will never know. Right? Here's another tidbit for you. This is one that I've covered on the show previously, but just to kind of remind everyone again. China just decided to... Oh my god. Really? Fucking paywalls? Paywall ain't gonna stop me, bitch. Come on. RT? What? No. What are you talking about, RT? Why the fuck does it put me to RT? That's insane. No. Hold on. We're gonna remove this paywall. I apologize for the break, because this is ridiculous. Come on. Why would it link me to RT? That's so weird. Here's the article. Canada said to have mapped out secret police operations. Sorry, secret Chinese police operations. Canada has done a detailed mapping of what it says are covert Chinese police operations within its borders and want to explore a response with a group of 7 allies to a challenge faced by several nations. So not only are we not the only ones, or sorry, not only are we going through it, we're not the only ones going through it. China's doing this to multiple countries, and they're doing it to monitor and intimidate members of the Chinese diaspora, right? The Chinese immigrant. So anytime a Chinese immigrant comes over, they are immediately a risk. Because now these people can actually be a foreign agent. And like I said, they don't have, it's not necessarily that they're trained. It's just that China can press upon them, right? And press upon them certain truths, like, hey, we know where so-and-so lives. Hey, you like having a business? You like having that income? You want to make sure that keeps going? They will employ every tactic and find every pressure point possible to achieve their means. Okay, they don't give a shit about kidnapping a citizen of another nation. That's personally, just as an aside, that's personally why I've never wanted to go to these kind of countries like China. Because at any given moment, I could just be the random person that's caught up in a sweep because they just need somebody. And then they'll label you with a crime. With all due respect, like I get it. China is a beautiful nation in a lot of respects, and my God, the history, right? And culture and all that. And sure, it seems like a lovely place to visit, but Jesus fucking Christ, is it a risk? Because at any moment, they could just be like, all right, well, where's the white boy? We just need one of them. We need one of them that's loosely connected to Canada. No, thank you. I'm not looking to get some. I'm not looking to get caught up in some bullshit. That's just me though. And look, even if you don't believe me on that, right? Believe our prime minister, believe our dear leader, who said it himself. And I've played this clip before, but I'll play it again because this is just, once again, they can't help but tell on themselves. These people are so fucking retarded and bad at their job that they can't foresee an answer like this biting them in the ass. I mean, did Carney think that he wouldn't have to make a deal with China or that it wasn't a plan? Did he do this on purpose? I don't know. It's just stupid because just listen to what he said. The question was, what's the biggest security threat to Canada?
We didn't have a chance to talk about anything internationally. I think the biggest security threat to Canada is China.
China, you say?
Yeah. We didn't have a chance to talk about anything internationally. I think the biggest security threat to Canada is China.
China, you say?
Yeah. We didn't have a chance to talk about anything internationally. I think the biggest security threat to Canada is China.
China, you say?
Yeah. We didn't have a chance to talk about.
These debates are fucking retarded too. I apologize for the repeated vulgarity, but they are. It is the most asinine thing I've ever had to force myself to watch. Because I remember I covered this on one of my earlier streams, and I mean, they have like maybe 2.5 hours of the debate, and they all have to have a chance to talk and to speak on some subjects. I mean, this is just Joe Rogan's like he may be wrong on a lot, but of the few things that he's gotten right is just like these debates are outdated. The way that we answer the most pivotal questions on what you're going to do as a leader, right? All your strengths, your weaknesses, your successes, your failures, done over a 2.5 hour period where they're just combative with each other. I mean, it was just hard to watch. I was watching it. I was thinking once again, like, where are the adults? Like, these people are fucking savages. You know, people think that Trump is nasty in debates. I mean, look, maybe not a lot of personal attacks in the Canadian one, but they go after each other. They go after each other's records and what they've said in public and all that. And some of them, yeah, rightfully so. And that's politics. And I get it. That's the nature of things. It's just this is a crazy way to decide the next leader of a nation. A way to illuminate the minds of people. Right? Because for the most part, you know, whoever you want to win, you're just watching their campaign throughout the whole experience. Right? You're just watching their campaign. You're just going along with it. And the only other time that you'll see clips of the other person's campaign is, oh, if they fuck up, if a certain message needs to be pushed, if they need to capitalize on something, right? That's the only time that you ever get like real exposure from the other side. If you're into, you know, the left-right dichotomy, and this is just you make it your whole personality, right? But that's a good majority of the voter base, right? The people that actually watch and go to the rallies and all that, right? And the debate is where you can actually see all four of these people. Well, four for Canada, anyways. The Greens don't get invited. And not just that, that's not even the funniest thing. The funniest thing about the debate is because the leader of, right, the Quebec political party, the Québécois, the leader of the Québécois, he's not there to be prime minister. Nobody's going to vote for him because it's a general fucking election and Canada is not Quebec. And Quebec is not Canada. Quebec is a province in Canada, but boy, oh boy, did that guy on stage, the leader, what is it, Francois Legault? No, oh no, Francois Legault, yeah, he's the current one, but he's stepping down, I believe. Oh no, my mistake. No. He is still in power. I was thinking of one of their party leaders that stepped down. Oh no, my mistake. It was Francois Legault. Yeah, he is stepping down. That is not a flattering photo at all. Of all the photos to use. No, he is stepping down. Yeah, because of corruption charges, right? Yeah, they're dealing with some corruption over there. But anyways, my point was, he doesn't even speak in a way that is like he's trying to make inroads with Canadians. right? The Quebecois party leader. He's just a mouthpiece. He's like, I'm just here to defend the interests of Quebec. The whole time, every single time a question is asked, he would turn to whoever the prospective prime minister is, whether it's Pierre or Marc, and be like, well, what are you going to do for Quebec? What are you going to do for me? Yeah, that's a great way to fucking be a province. Jesus Christ. So uppity. So just absolutely full of himself. It really did not give me a good impression of the political landscape in Quebec. Or rather, it didn't leave a good impression. Right? That shit just made me be like, yeah, fuck you, Quebec. Who the fuck do you think you are? Are you part of the union or are you not? Pick a side. Get along. Jesus fucking Christ. All this talk of separation, shit or get off the pot. Okay? Just figure it out. Figure it out. Just say yes or no and we'll deal with it. None of this fucking wishy-washy will they, won't they bullshit. My God. Anyways, yeah, the debate was infuriating, but that was the best part, right? Because Carney literally said himself that China is the biggest threat to Canada. And boy, oh boy, wait till you guys hear how he tried to fucking slip through that one. Just you wait. I got the receipts. I got them all. All right. Let me just pull up my notes here. Okay. So with all of that in mind, all of China's offenses, everything they've done wrong, right? Everything that not that they've done wrong. That's not a good way to put it. All the crimes that they've committed, all the lives they've affected, the people that they have, through secondary or tertiary action, killed. Carney decides, hey, you know, it'd be great. We should make a deal with these people. And not just like any deal, but we should further entrench ourselves into China because this is going to be the new world order, right? We're moving away from America being the master of the universe. They're no longer going to be the head niggas in charge, if a white boy can speak, right? That we're moving into a multipolar world where now there's going to be regions of power that are not necessarily dominated by one country or one nation's interests. Right? America's been closing in on itself up until the Venezuela raids, right? Where they took Maduro out of his fucking bed. And all these overtures they've been making to Greenland, they're looking to expand their zone of influence, but it's still happening in the West, right? They're not really tangling in the Middle East as they used to. They still are doing plenty of action, you know, that whole situation around Iran, very fluid. So who knows what's going to happen then? A lot of people are saying that America's going to strike. Who the fuck knows? All the signs are pointing towards it, but who can really say? And so as a result of that, the overture that Carney is making is that because we can't rely on America as our consistent trading partner, that we have to start making deals with other people. And why China is among his priorities is nothing but baffling. I mean, I have a guess as to why. Some of the research that I've done here kind of points in a single direction, and it's just money. That's what it seems to be. It seems to be that it's enriching himself and his company, right, Brookfield, which he's officially recused himself from that. Sure, he has. And even if he doesn't have any communications with people there, any policy that he might make that enriches Brookfield will enrich him in the end. Because as soon as he's done with the prime ministership, he's just going to have, you know, ownership of all the shares, all the assets that he has, all the businesses that he's tied to. And this isn't even some conspiracy theory. This is an open secret in Canadian society. People just don't talk about it, right? But Mark Carney has so many potential conflicts of interest. I mean, I'll show you the document. It goes on for pages, and this isn't like something that some fucking schizo on X made. This is an actual like parliamentary report because they had hearings about this. There were actual outsized concerns about the myriad of conflicts of interest that he had. Because for those who don't know, Brookfield is an asset managing firm, so they hold assets, whether it's stock, buildings, projects, what have you. Right? They have assets, they manage them, people can invest into them. That's their whole game. And the assets that they have in the companies globally is in the billions. Okay, this is essentially the Canadian version of BlackRock. Right? Brookfield has assets all over the globe and investments into projects all over the globe. So as a prime minister, especially in a country like Canada, which like we project so much influence out into the world, and by influence I don't mean necessarily like cultural influence or how America has influence, but I mean the amount of projects that we're funding across the planet for just the dumbest shit, it actually rivals USAID. Right? Like paying for transgender ballet lessons in fucking Zimbabwe. Right? Canada has plenty of those projects. That's going to be a whole other episode at some point too, because the USAID and the Doge scandal that happened in the states, Canada, I mean, it is either on the same size proportionally, if not bigger. The amount of money that's going out of the country to pay for all these little projects, contraception to God knows how many fucking countries. With all this DEI stuff, it moved into that lens as well. So they're paying them for not for reparations, but to deal with colonialism and education. It's nuts. It's nuts. Right. So with all these programs, because Canada is so pervasive, maybe not influential, but we're so pervasive with it, that just shows our reach, right? To who we can send money to and who we have alliances with and who we keep tabs with. Right? Because we send them money, Canada has this idea of this reputation of being a peacekeeper. When in reality, we're just robbing the coffers of future generations. And for what? Like, how am I benefiting from people in Zimbabwe having contraceptives? Like, good for them, but I'm fucking. I'm never gonna own a house. That's fucking cool. That's great. My one of the few things that my generation is known for is the ability to not own a fucking house, to not have land. Insane. People can't afford food. Food bank use is at high rate. That people should be out in the fucking streets rioting. And like, I'm supposed to be happy that my money is getting sent to fucking teach people how not to shit on a beach. Like, what the fuck? Right. So, anyways, all of that was just to say Canada is very capable of investing globally, right? We have all these reputations, we have the NGOs in place, we have all of the mechanisms in place for that. And so as a result of that, when Carney makes policies like these, right, that fit in that vein, if he calls for more funding, right, his business that he left, Brookfield, is going to benefit because they also have assets around the world. They also have investments around the world. You know what? Instead of saying it, let me show you. So this is from Parliament, right? This is a summary statement of the investigation of the Conflict of Interest Act for Mark Carney, right? Here's the link for it. Like I said, everything will be posted in the description. And here is the list of companies with which Mark Carney technically has a conflict of interest, but because he recused himself, he's no longer working for them. You know, it's no big deal. Right? So they have shares. They not only have like assets, like I said, like maybe factories, warehouses, what have you. No. They have shares. They buy shares of companies. And just look how far it goes. We're 5 pages in. There's 16 pages of this document. Okay, there's enough of them to need alphabetic sorting. And these aren't just some random fucking shell corps. Okay, these are legit companies. Shares of Nike, shares of Netflix. I guarantee you, where is it? Shares of Microsoft. And of course, there's got to be some shares of Apple. They got to have Apple shares. Shares of Apple. Okay? They have, for lack of a better word, a bajillion assets. Okay? They have a bajillion assets under their control. So any policy that enriches any one of these companies, there's got to be one of them. You know, a new construction project, maybe investment in local media, what have you. Right? Whatever policy Mark Carney comes up with, it's going to affect some of these companies eventually. So, and when he leaves, his post as a prime minister, he's going to go back to Brookfield. I think he has like 200,000 shares or something like that. If they go up even $1 by the fact that he's making these decisions, I mean, for fuck's sake, shares of Visa. They have shares of Visa and Walmart and Walt Disney. Like, even if a single dollar is made, that's a conflict of interest. And this is how many companies he's involved with, technically, right? Through tertiary and whatever the higher term is. Through tertiary consequences, right? 16 pages. There's 16 pages of these fucking things. It's insane. Not to mention, Mark Carney himself, he helped Brookfield secure a $250 million loan right before he got elected, like 6 months before. Right? And there's no proof, like he's not meeting with a representative from China whose bank funded the $250 million loan. Obviously, that's not going to happen in China. You don't just have reporters snapping fucking pics of influential meetings. Days after meeting the representative in China, Brookfield got a $250 million loan. Wow, what a coincidence. Mark Carney, who's deeply involved in Brookfield assets management in the same country where one of the banks also gave them $250 million, $250 million. What a fucking coincidence. That's so strange. That's so weird. What a weird. You know, life works in mysterious. Life is like a box of dumplings. You never know which one you're going to get. Life is like a box of dumplings. Insane. This guy clearly has financial ties to China. Right? He has financial ties to all these companies. Not only do we elect him as prime minister, he then goes on to make a deal with China. I mean, it's so bold-faced, which is why it enraged me to my core for a moment there today. I was reading all these tweets from people and I was like, you guys have lost the plot. You have such bad Trump derangement syndrome. Fucking Orange Man Bad is just playing 24/7 in your brain so much, and you're just seething and hating the Americans. That's one of the nastiest things about the Canadians' reputation. You know, I'll say that, you know, we're nice and we're giving and we help a neighbor out, but Jesus fucking Christ, some people have this chip on their shoulder, for lack of a better word, that we're better than America. We're better than America. At least we're not Americans. At least I'm not as dumb as an American. Oh, well, they fucking shoot each other. They fucking shoot themselves. Their president is a clown. Are you fucking? We don't have ground to stand on when we say shit like that. And I hate the fact that it's part of the Canadian identity. It's a lesser known quality, right? I mean, you'll notice it when you go abroad. People, you know, can tell by your accent. They're like, "Oh, are you American?" And when you tell them, "No, I'm actually Canadian," they have this like sigh of relief. I mean, maybe American tourists have such a bad reputation that they deserve that, but nonetheless, just bring it back to Canada. Yet, this is the belief that millions of people hold, that at least we're better than them. And we're not. We're not. What, because of fucking universal health care? Because we're so better than the Americans because we make people wait in line and tens of thousands of people are dying waiting in line. We're so good. We're so much better than the Americans because of that. Because we're nice and we don't shoot each other, but record high fucking home invasions. Women are just getting hunted off the streets. That's not even hyperbole. I'm not even making that up. That's not a conspiracy theory. I literally covered that story like 4 or 5 days ago. And I'll pull it up here just so that if you're listening still, so that you know I'm not fucking crazy. This is true. It was Toronto terrorism woman abduction case. Toronto man charged with terrorism, funding ISIS, and attempted kidnappings. There were these 3 guys roaming the streets, literally trying to kidnap women. 2 attempted kidnappings in the Greater Toronto area, near a place I used to live, which was a decently safe place for a very long time. And now it's fucking bedlam. Like, man, I'm not saying, like, if you go outside, make sure you have your anti-rapist whistle or whatever the fuck, right? Not saying that people are just getting mauled the moment they walk out the door, but it is much worse than people want to believe. It is much worse. Canada is not this rosy picture where we all leave our doors unlocked like Michael Moore said. No. Especially not in urban centers. So this weird thing that people have, this idea that we're somehow better than the Americans, like, really? We got our own problems, man. We got plenty of our own fucking problems. We literally just figured out, it took us like years to figure out that giving drugs to people for free, giving them crack pipes and letting them shoot up wherever the fuck, maybe that's not such a good idea for the downtown core. Maybe it's not such a good thing for tourism, for businesses that are down there. Because then those businesses shut down, they leave, and nobody wants to invest in that area. And then it just becomes a shithole. It becomes the inner city. That's what it becomes. It just becomes a fucking shithole. It becomes the street that you avoid, and nothing ever gets done to clean it up. That's how you get fucking San Francisco. Okay, and that's how you get San Francisco. Do you want San Francisco? Because that's how you get San Francisco. Moving on. Okay, I just needed to get that off my chest because, my God, this is the last thing I'll say. The fact that people were praising this deal, which I haven't even gotten to, right? This is just all the preamble to it. The fact that people were praising this deal and saying that, oh my God, it's so much better. At least we're not submitting to America. You'd much rather deal with a dictatorship and let them. You'd rather let the fox in the henhouse rather than just sit with Trump in the same room while he farts. I mean, that's basically it. Trump is the political equivalent of the guy that is in the elevator that is just ripping ass, and you're stuck with him because of some emergency. The fucking cable broke. You guys are stuck in there for a half hour, 45 minutes, and the guy is just farting. And you keep looking at him. You're like, dude, fucking stop. What the fuck is wrong with you? Just hold it in. We're in an enclosed space. Go fuck yourself. Why am I smelling the inside of your asshole? And the guy's not even like, he's not even pretending, right? No, he's just saying it to your face. He's like, dude, my farts are fucking great. What are you talking about? I eat clean. I eat healthy. Meanwhile, he's fucking 300 pounds leaking. Right? That's what Trump is politically. You gotta deal with that. That's who he is as a person. And maybe if you play nice, maybe if you bring him enough gifts, he'll be nice to you. Like, hey man, here's a Snickers. You're looking hungry. If you make overtures to him, yeah, maybe he'll treat you better. Maybe he'll slow down on the farts a little bit. You know, he'll talk shit about your sister, but you know, he's not gonna keep farting. Anyways, I'll get off that fucking metaphor. But China is so much worse. Chinese they'll shank you in the elevator. This is the political equivalent of a shank. And the most fucked up thing is you're gonna give him the shank to do it with. I mean, I don't know how else to describe this deal. I really don't. Right? I mean, and just to start off, right? This is Mark Carney landing in China. Oh, I gotta cut that audio. Isn't he beautiful? Isn't he gorgeous? Oh, he ate shit. Okay, all right. Enough of the AI slop. Figured you guys would get a kick out of that. Here's journalists talking about having to buy burner phones to prevent Chinese spying.
Ask a general question about investing in China. There's a ton of experts we've spoken to in the business community in Canada who are gun shy about investing in China. Joint ventures aren't such. It's China win. It's not win-win. We're using burner phones for the first time when we covered this because China spies on journalists and businessmen. China intercepts communications. Is China really the right kind of partner for Canadian industry?
Listen, we've been clear-eyed. We're eyes wide open. We know this. But there's been investments by Canadian companies for years here. Tomorrow I'm meeting with Magna. Magna, one of the biggest car auto parts companies in the world. They have 30,000 people working here. We're meeting with Manulife. We're meeting with BMO. These companies have been in China for years. Now, obviously, we're having these conversations with the Chinese government.
Ask a general question about investing in China.
So a journalist asks, right, just in case you guys didn't hear it, or if you think you're crazy, a journalist asks, hey, is this such a great place to invest? I mean, we got to use fucking burner phones because they're literally spying on us. And what we're covering is, maybe some details about trade. I mean, that's why the Chinese are spying on them. They're like, okay, well, let's see what they're going to come to the table with so we know how to counter. Right? Let's look at their hands so we know exactly what to bet. That's exactly what they're fucking doing. Of course they're going to do that. That's China. What do you mean? They own all the infrastructure there. All their 5G towers, all their police stations, the hotel where they're staying. Come on. I guarantee you, everybody that was there on this diplomatic mission had a handler. Okay? If not a team of handlers. Excuse me. Or right, they tried to build the illusion of freedom. Right, the Chinese just let them go and wander, but they have people following them. That'd probably be the smarter move. Don't actually make it like North Korea where you're not allowed to go, make a left where you shouldn't. They probably just let them roam free, but they have people just watching them. I mean, isn't China, I think, like the world's second most largest country, or largest purveyor of CCTV cameras? Like, they have surveillance down to a fucking dime. They know that. They play that game. The only way they can run their society is through that game. All these things with social credit scores, they keep a watch on people. Right? So this is such an obvious question. It's like we're dealing with a surveillance state. Why would we expand our deal? Can we just not keep the status quo as it is, or maybe send them an email? Why do you have to go here in person? And her response is, we're wide-eyed on this. We're open eyes. Open eyes and closed ears. This is... I mean, look, she obviously can't admit it. They're in China as she's being asked the question. The moment that she does that, they're going to start revoking her visitor pass or telling her that she can't go and meet these people and business owners. They'll just straight up fucking kick them out. The moment that they say anything contrary, the entire time they're there, right? Like, let's just set this straight. The entire time that they're in China, they play by their fucking rules. Okay? Like, the journalists there, they have a clear understanding. Don't talk about Tiananmen Square. Don't talk about term limits. Don't talk about the one-child policy. right? The journalists can't ask them tough questions because that China would shut that shit down. They would just kick you out, or better yet, arrest you and use you as a pawn. And here are our great leaders being held hostage. Insane. So, anyways, yeah, they're open eyes and open ears. Open eyes and open ears. Oh, and here's another fucking highlight clip for you, for the highlight reel. They're with us on net zero. China, which is the largest, I think the single largest global emitter of CO2 emissions, is partnering with us on net zero. Are you fucking kidding me? What are you even on? I mean, I even tweeted here, China shares our goal for net zero like how they shared COVID with the world at our expense. Because that's what they fucking do. Look at this chart. They're 3 times as big as India. They're more than twice the size of the US. And for Canada, 30 times. Almost 30. Fine, we'll say 25 because we're almost at 2%. 15 times. My bad. My math is a little bit off. They're at least 15 times as worse of us as a polluter, and they're gonna partner on carbon, on net zero, on carbon capture. Really? Let's hear this one.
Let me be clear. We are
I love it when they say, "Let me be clear." I love it when they say that. It's because you know what's coming out is not clear. It's just it's like a trigger word. My neurons get activated the moment I hear that because it's just it's gonna be the most fucking asinine fake shit you've ever heard in your life.
Let me be clear. We are here because we share a goal. We share a goal on getting to net zero. We believe we have lots of common interests with respect to how we use clean energy to get there, and we have common interests around how to get there on a conventional basis. And we're going to exploit that for the benefit of Canadian workers and for Canadians. Let me be clear.
Net zero. We're meeting with the world's largest polluter. It's one thing if this delegation was like, we have access to technology that China doesn't. We're willing to share it to help them get to net zero. Right? And even the faults with that, sharing tech with China and all, like, even the faults with doing something like that, if he came out and said the exact same thing, I would believe him more. I'd be like, okay, they're actually out of Canada's goodwill, that's what they're doing. It's retarded, but that's what they're doing. Okay. At least there's some cohesiveness to this. At least there's a path of logic I can understand. But what he's saying and what they're doing, it just, what do you mean you're partnering on net zero? China is not going net zero. Are you what? There's a headline like every other week. There's a headline every other week where they're basically saying, oh, another dozen coal plants fired up. 100 coal plants. 100 coal plants in China. 6 million coal plants in China. Let me see when. You know what? I should build a tool on Twitter. I should build a Twitter account that says how many days since the last coal plant has been built in China. August 2025. Why China is still building new coal and when it might stop. Might. Might. China accounted for 93% of new global coal power construction in 2024. 93%, according to the Carbon Brief, which who the fuck knows who they are. Last year, China started construction on an estimated 95 gigawatts of new coal power capacity, enough to power the entire UK twice over. These people are not stopping. They don't give a shit. It doesn't matter how many fucking scrubbers you put on this bad boy. Okay, it doesn't matter if you use Trump's cleanest of coal, right? Clean coal. It doesn't matter. It's fucking coal. You're burning coal. Okay, so what? So all of a sudden they just turned heel, and because Canada made a deal with them, they're gonna partner on net zero? Are you fucking kidding me? At least be realistic. See, I would believe these people more if they were just honest. Like, China has no intentions of going net zero. They probably just said that. They're like, oh yeah, we'll do it for sure. Yeah. I'm actually fairly certain they only wrote an MOU on it. Yeah, here it is. New Ministerial Energy Dialogue and MOU on energy cooperation to advance clean energy. For example, battery, solar, and wind, and conventional resources like oil and gas, helping Canada reduce emissions and attract investment for job creation in low carbon industries. They built 93. Sorry, they account. China accounts for 93% of the new global coal power construction in 2024. And they gave you an MOU, a memo. They wrote it down on a piece of paper and said IOU. That's what they did. Okay. All right, we are not a serious country. What the fuck? How could you go out on the world stage and believe making a statement like that is so easily I just fucking checked it in 5 seconds. Which is why it infuriated me to no end that these people on Twitter were talking all this all this shit about, oh, no, this is a great deal. China gave us a great deal. This is a great direction for our country to head into. Any fucking idiot with a phone can find out that this is not going to happen. Just put 2 and 2 together. If they account for almost all of the world's consumption for a single year, 90%, they can power the UK twice over with a single power plant. They're not stopping. It's fucking drill, baby, drill. Dig, baby, dig. What have you. Right? They're not stopping. They're not going to stop just because Canada asks them to. You know, it was one thing for Trudeau to come out and make that mission and say, you know what, I'm going to educate these people. That's arrogant enough, and it makes us look, I mean, just the absolute jackasses of the world. Right? That's what it makes us look like. I understand that. He's just a silly idiot fucking drama teacher. And that's what he's going at, right? He's going for a theatric play. He really believes in this stuff. He's going to come back the victor and be like, oh, I showed those people. I pushed the needle on Uyghur empowerment or whatever he was trying to achieve there, right? At least that I understand. He's just delusional. These people are just straight up lying. Like, I would at least feel a little bit better if they were delusional, if they were actually believers of the cause. They don't believe this. They know going into the trade deal just exactly what China's carbon consumption is, or rather carbon emissions are. They know the talking points. They know that they have to defend this in Parliament. They have entire staffs around them that tell them these figures. They're fully aware of the landscape. They just don't give a shit. They don't care. which makes it all the more enraging to see. To just see our leaders lie so blatantly. Here's Carney announcing a goodie that just completely fucked Ontario Premier Doug Ford in his belly, his big fat belly. They announced, the Canadian government announced that in the first year of this deal, we're going to import at least, or rather up to, 49,000 Chinese electric cars with only a 6% tariff. Now, the reason why this matters, right? The reason why this matters is not just because Oh, okay, cool. So Canadians get some cool cars. Great. Sure. This amount of cars for our population of, what is it, 40 million now? Right? It's not an insignificant amount. It's actually quite a few cars. Right? And it's going to increase over time. Right? It's just 49,000 for this year, but it's going to increase year in. The problem with these cars is the problem with any Chinese tech. When it's adopted en masse, okay, you're gonna have security concerns because the Chinese, right, they love to put backdoors and vulnerabilities and all this tech that they send around the world. You know, why is it that China has this Belt and Road initiative where they go over to Africa and say, "Hey, we'll build your 5G towers. Yeah, no problem. We'll take on the burden. You'll pay us back eventually, but you know, we'll set them up for you." You know, they're helping modernize all these third world countries. Why is that? Is it out of the good of their hearts? Like, really? Are they actually just doing it because they're charitable? They've gone Canadian all of a sudden? You know? No. It's because when they set up this tech, they set up a back door so they can listen in or they can control. Now they own that infrastructure. Now they have access to it. Right? And that's not some conspiracy theory. This is an open secret. Right? The Canadian Army just learned this lesson with the drones. They had to get rid of like a good chunk of their drones because they realized, oh, they're Chinese made. Well, you can't flip over the drone and read the small letters in plastic that it says made in China. You can't figure that out. The supplier that you paid all this money to. Quote, Chinese drones make up about 80% of the federal police force's fleet of 1,230 remote pilot aircraft systems, which are used to monitor the Canada-US border and in various police operations. 80%. 80% make up for it. Replacing them would cost $30 million. Jesus. Where are the adults in the room? Why are you ordering drones that you're specifically using for border monitoring services from China? You just gave every single drone, I mean, I would assume so, right? Input into how your border operates, how your land works. So the Chinese don't have to rely on a satellite, they have literal on-the-ground footage. In a written response to the National Security Committee of the Senate, the RCMP said replacing them would cost $30 million at approximately $35,000 per device. The high cost is related to the fact that non-Chinese drones are nearly twice as expensive. Yeah, except you get to keep the vulnerability of your border and your operations away from prying eyes. That's the price that you pay for that. That's encryption. I don't... Who the fuck is in charge of this decision? Any connected device raises questions about security vulnerabilities, said Yigal Ben David, a professional specialized in operations management at the Université du Québec in Montreal. Wesley Wark of the Center of International Governance Innovation said the RCMP seems to have found the right solutions to use its Chinese drones, adding that mitigation after the fact is always a second best option. How do you know which bugs they put in? How do you know the back doors? They designed it. It's going to take you time to do, like, unbelievable. $30 million down the fucking drain. I mean, you might be able to resell it, but who's going to buy that? Who's going to buy that many drones? For the more sensitive operations, the RCMP relies on 112 French drones, 96 from the United States, and 24 from Belgium, according to response to questions from Conservative Senator Claude Carignan. The RCMP does not list the country of origin for 2% of its drones, which it describes as custom or part of research and development. Okay. Insane. So, right, the original reason that I brought up the story, right, these drones, okay, which, you know what? Here, take the headphones off. The original reason that I brought this up is because these EVs that are going to be brought into Canada, okay, they're going to have security vulnerabilities. They're going to have some kind of a backdoor, right, put into either. One second. Just had to turn off the fan. You're going to have cars with either LiDAR or camera equipment that is going to be going throughout the streets of Canada. Right, all these EVs in China, they have self-parking tech, all these, these fancy gadgets. They're just going to be using to get that data, right? Using these EVs to get that data and ship it back. Hey, great, we know what the landscape looks like. Hey, great, we know what the border looks like. We know how these sensitive areas look like. All these government offices, Department of Defense, Parliament Hill. Right? We don't need agents anymore. We have entire cars filled with sensors and cameras. And we're just going to get that information. Right? Because this is something that I mentioned in the last episode. When a company gets big enough in China, they are automatically intertwined with the government. Automatically. Right? Once it gets big enough, the CCP comes by and says, hey, you want to keep operating? You want to keep growing? Well, you got to give us a back door. Right? That's the issue with TikTok. I've brought this up multiple times. This is an open secret. And Carney just made the deal that 35,000, up to 49,000, my mistake. Still had the fucking drones on my mind. Up to 49,000 Chinese cars are going to be imported into Canada. Now, what does this do for the Canadian EV market? Right? Which Doug Ford was not happy about. I'll tell you that much. He was not happy to hear that. Let's get a little bit of his reaction. Let's get a little bit of Dougie there. Do you know what? We're gonna try something different. Now that I'm not wearing the headphones, bear with me for 1 second. Let's hear about this. Looks like my browser froze. Oh. There we go.
Didn't have any consultation, didn't consult with any of the automakers. This is going to be terrible for not only just all the people of Ontario, but especially the auto manufacturers, the supply chain. We're letting China into a market that's going to have lower tariffs than our largest market, the U.S., and I don't think that's going to go over too well with President Trump, but it's going to hurt every single auto manufacturer, every single supply chain that has anything to do with the auto sector. This was not thought out properly. It wasn't consulted. It was a knee-jerk reaction as far as I'm concerned, and this is going to be a big problem. Absolutely not.
You see, the reason he's pissed, okay, the reason that Doug Ford is pissed is because there's a lot of the car manufacturing in Canada is based in Ontario. A good portion of it. Right, for the entire nation, okay? I mean, we share a border with Detroit, right? There's a ton of these manufacturing towns that have these assembly lines. And Ford, because he decided to hitch his wagon behind Carney, has gotten fucked. Because Carney just said, well, hey, you know all those EVs in Canada? Say bye to those. Those are going off the market because now we got Chinese EVs that are going to be much cheaper and they got much cooler features and all these big screens and all that. Like the Chinese EVs, they have so much hype behind them. But the amount of footage that I've seen of Chinese EVs burning up or just circling parking lots or just having all these issues, there's plenty of issues with the Chinese EVs. They're not perfect. They're Chinese. Okay? All right, it could be good. You know what? It's like that triangle. If you want a job done, it can either be two of three things. It could be perfect, it could be cheap, and it could be fast. You got to pick two of them, right? They should add a fourth one. It could be Chinese, okay? Because it's in a category of its own, right? But if you look at all these Chinese EVs. Whoa, Xiaomi's electric car. Take a look at this. Or actually, I don't want to get copyright. Let me see if there's a... Is it highlights? I don't even know what the fuck to even look up here. Whoa, the
Every now and again.
The Xpeng 7. Look at it. It's so fucking cool. Holy shit. All this trunk space. Whoa. Look at this elegant screen. Right, all these fucking goy-slop features. Oh, an AI assistant. Whoa. My car's got a little guy in it. Great, that'll be super useful for when you're racing down the highway and you just hear from your center console you haven't paid your subscription for your brakes. Time to shut them off. Your airbag subscription has run out. You've lost so much social credit you don't get airbags now. Oh wow, the footrest. So cool. So futuristic. Right, so they got all these bells and whistles. And they're gonna be cheaper because China has like the cheapest EVs in the world. And so Carney's like, fuck it. Yeah, let's just flood the Canadian market. Even though like EVs don't even make sense in Canada. In America, I'd understand, but in Canada, for like 4, in some areas, 5 months of the year, you can't drive an EV. Right? Nobody in the Northern Territories is getting an EV. Okay, I mean, there's not much going on up there in the first place, but nobody up there is getting a fucking EV. Nobody. So even for the urban centers, even for those, like, yeah, there's these charging stations, there's the infrastructure, but during the winter, they're useless. They're useless. And even in Toronto, it's been dipping to -20 for a couple times here, and that's when those batteries fuck up. Not just that. Excuse me. Not just that, but all the salt that we use, all the corrosion that they experience, and these things are heavy too, to fit the battery and everything. Yeah, no, EVs are not Canada friendly, and Canada is not EV friendly. But they decided to just force them down our throats because I guess money or some shit. And this isn't going to decimate the auto market, but it's certainly going to hurt. It's certainly going to hurt. I'd be surprised if, if this deal holds and we keep going on with it, I wouldn't be surprised to see that these EVs are still making an impact like 10, 20 years down the line. I mean, getting out of this deal, it's going to be extremely difficult because once they're here, I mean, what do? You seize people's properties, you give them an alternative EV. All the EVs that are bought by people, how do you actually get rid of them? The only way is to take that property away and to replace it with something else. Right? So you have to pay for each and every single one of those. That's nuts. Are we going to have to do that? Are we going to have to do that to rid ourselves of this problem of the security risk? That at any given point, these things could be used to hurt Canada? Which, look, if they can do that with drones, if drones at our border are a security risk, why wouldn't a car be a security risk? Why wouldn't it? You know, I wouldn't even be surprised. I wouldn't even be surprised that when these babies get over here to Canada, right? When those, what is it, 49,000 get here in Canada, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the political leaders that were there on this mission, and as a moment of celebration, they're going to get one of these EVs and publicly ride in it. And then you're never going to see them in that car ever again. Because even they know this shit. They know that it's a security risk. They know not to do that. Right? But we're eyes wide open. We're eyes wide open, guys. We're fucking eyes wide open. Eyes and ears, guys. We're eyes and ears wide open. We're fucking, bro, we're fucking eyes wide open. Dude, we're eyes wide open. My God. Eyes wide open, guys. Eyes wide open. Let's get some audio from the Prime Minister. Why not? Let's hear him out. Let's see what this guy's got to say.
China's strengths, for example, in electric vehicles are formidable. They're undeniable. These are the most affordable and energy efficient and innovative.
Glaze them more. Why don't you? Holy shit. Wipe your chin, buddy. Wipe your chin. My God, our Prime Minister just can't help but praise him. He just can't help but just take that 6-incher. Oh my God. What a fucking embarrassment.
Vehicles in the world. And for Canada to build our own competitive EV sector, we need to learn from, partner with, and access and build supply chains with China. To help deliver on the full potential of these partnerships and to bring down costs for Canadians, we're going to start by allowing up to 49,000 Chinese electric vehicles into the Canadian market at the most favored nation tariff rate, which is 6.1%. China's strengths, for example.
What a legend. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed that moment of applause. I hope you enjoyed that. Because, yeah, I mean, the rest of us are going to have to deal with that. You know, Carney wasn't even a Canadian citizen, or rather a Canadian resident, up until the election. The moment that he leaves office, he's out of here. Why would he need to come back? He's got plenty of friends in the UK and elsewhere. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't have to stick around here for the consequences. The guy didn't even live here for the last 10 years. And he's prime minister. And as a way to make inroads with China, as one of the major deals of this, trade delegation that they sent, 49,000 Chinese EVs are going to flood the market. They're going to take a huge chunk of Canadian EVs, because as I said, the 49,000, that's just this year. In the deal, in the actual language of the deal, they're going to add more year in, year out. And especially if people are like, yeah, fuck yeah, why not? Let's buy EVs. Especially if the government, right, I think it's by 2035 that Trudeau wanted to make it so that Canada wasn't producing gas-guzzling vehicles anymore. How are you going to do that? Who's going to power that grid? What on God's green earth are you talking about? And now Carney wants to push even more of that? Great. At the expense of Canadians and at the expense of our security. That's great. That's tremendous. That's amazing. What a good guy. What a great guy. I'm so proud to be a Canadian. After hearing that. I mean, Doug Ford even realizes. I bet he's kicking himself being like, fuck. Maybe shouldn't have bet on him. Maybe shouldn't have bet on him. Because this is Doug Ford's last administration. There's no way he's getting elected ever again. Not after this. Not after the way that Carney has completely gutted Ontario. And Doug Ford has just been going along with it this whole time. He was all smiles and ears with the ad and everything, and now that it's just completely blown up, he's fucked. He's done. Next election, he's out of here. There's no way. Or maybe he stays, and Canadians just fucking they give him a third chance. You know, it's not about the second chance. It's about the third chance. That's the chance where they actually change things. Oh my god, it's like we're in an abusive relationship with our political representatives. It's crazy. It's not even like a, you know, in America, it's irrational in the sense that, you know, there's a theater to this. There's like a sport kind of attitude towards it. You know, our team and theirs. This is just like, it's a bad soap opera. Because if you put the pieces together, you can kind of guess what's going to happen next. You know, it doesn't take too much almond activation to understand what's going to happen next. But at the same time, it just keeps getting worse. And you're just forced there to watch it. It's the only thing on TV. Oh my god. It's funny though. It's funny. I can't believe that he's touting this as a win. Great. Now we have 49,000 additional risks to our security that are going to be floating around the country that are also going to be hurting our own auto industry. So we're hurting ourselves and China is benefiting because we're going to be buying these fucking EVs. We're going to be buying these fucking things. All the money's going to go to China. And what's Carney talking about competition? What competition is this going to start? Who can compete with China? China is infamous for its lack of OSHA. Okay, Chinese working conditions are such a meme that they have their own section, or they had their own section. They might as well have had their own category on LiveLeak. Okay? like every now and then on Instagram, you'll come upon a reel on one of these old LiveLeak videos, and it always cuts out before it gets bad, obviously. But every now and then we come up with these videos, and it's either India or China. Those are the only two. You know, maybe you'll get an occasional, you know, Malaysia or something, but you're never going to see a Japan, a Germany, you know, unless it's absolutely catastrophic. No, it's China and India where the majority of these videos are coming out because the working conditions of their people are fucking horrid. Okay, for fuck's sake, there was just a guy that went viral on, I think it was WeChat or something. He was showing how I think these pillows were made, or something other. Let me find out. WeChat streamer, band worker. Hold on. I gotta find this because this is insane. All the guy was doing was like making pillows or bed sheets or what have you. What was the incident where the Chinese streamer who was working in a factory got banned by the government recently? Oh, I believe it was on Douyin. But in any case, right, we've all seen the fucking suicide nets of Apple. Okay? This is infamous. China has sweatshops. Well, you think they're treating their fucking EVs any differently? And even if they do have automation, are they going to have that in the countryside? Are they going to have that in every single city? Just automated robots? No, they're going to have manual labor somewhere. And even if it is all robots, right? Even if there is no manual labor and there are no LiveLeak videos to speak of, right? The automation is what's going to make these things cheap. We can't compete with them on labor. They have millions of people. Hundreds of millions. Okay, Canada has 40. We can't compete with them. They are the world's powerhouse when it comes to it. They are. That's what their reputation is built on. So these 49,000 Chinese EVs, that's nothing to them. That's a fucking field day. They'll fill that order. That's a fucking Amazon order to them. They don't give a shit. They're making more at home. They're making more domestically. So of course we can't compete with that. Of course we can't. We have regulations, unions, workers' rights, wages. They have fucking robots. They have robot armies. They have entire factories that are dark, right? Because there's no need for people. It's just moving parts and an exit. And the car turns itself on. Right, it's real good at that. Once it gets on the road, it's a whole other issue. But it's really good at getting off the factory floor and and getting into a parking spot. Everything beyond that, it's gonna have to learn. So yeah, no shit, we can't compete with this. Of course, we can't compete with China. Who would even try that? Right, and here's oh my god, this is just a cherry on top. I realize that we've been going for a while, but that's because this issue actually deserves to be like gone into in depth. Here is Mark Carney announcing that the federal intelligence agencies, right, the big boys, CSIS, RCMP, right, all these people, they're going to be working in collaboration with China on investigations of some sort. Let's hear the man.
The fourth pillar of our new strategic partnership is public safety and security. And this is an area where pragmatic and constructive engagement with China is crucial. Through this pillar, our law enforcement agencies will increase cooperation to better combat narcotics trafficking, transnational crime, cybercrime, synthetic drugs, and money laundering. And we will create safer communities for people in both our countries.
I'm sorry, but here are the things that he listed off for those at home listening: narcotics trafficking, transnational crime, cybercrime, and money laundering. Every single thing which China is guilty of doing in Canada. And if you don't believe me, let's go to the fucking perplexity. Show me the perplexity. And I get that this is an AI, but fine. I don't even need it to spit anything out. I'm just going to ask it for links of articles. Find me as many articles as possible of China committing the following offenses in Canada. Canada's Cyber Intelligence Agency says PRC cyber threat actors have compromised and maintained access to Canadian government networks over multiple years. Here's the link to the government website, which talks about that. And if I press Control F and say China, it pops up 21 times. Okay, it's talking about every cybersecurity threat in the world, and China is one of them. And Carney is out there saying that we're going to collaborate with them? I mean, my God, it's like if they went to Russia and they said we're gonna work with Russia to combat alcoholism. What the fuck are you talking about? What? I don't. Once again, the amount of disconnect it must take for Carney to say that, because he's been dealing with China for years. You know, Brookfield has billions invested in China, as I said at the beginning of this whole charade, right? Not charade, but this show, this episode. Billions of dollars worth of investments in China and Chinese businesses. Billions worth of assets. Projects. Personnel. Right? He understands the landscape of China. He knows how it works. And here he is on the global stage saying that our top security officials and organizations, you know, the people that are supposed to keep us safe, the people that are supposed to look out for future threats, right? The surveillance system that we all have agreed to, right? That we all live in now, that your phone can be tracked if you're a person of interest, that you can be flagged at an airport, right? All of this stuff that the border agencies, they're going to be collaborating with fucking China. They're listed as one of the attackers on the main report of the organization. National Cyber Threat Assessment 2025-2026 literally has China as the second entry. And the first entry is that Canada's state adversaries are using cyber operations to disrupt and divide. So technically China's the first country to be mentioned. I mean, once again, this is an open secret. I don't understand what ground Carney has to stand on in order to even say something like that. I mean, it's like the man is looking at the sky and he's telling me it's purple or that it's fucking green. And he's just yelling at the top of his lungs, and I just can't help but just see the sky is blue and wonder what the fuck is this guy talking about. That's what it feels like. The amount of gaslighting that's done here is insane. And look, fine. Okay, sure. Cybercrime. Cybercrime doesn't hurt us. Who fucking gives a shit? Right? Money laundering. How Chinese gangs are laundering drug money through Vancouver real estate. An investigation by Global News. Wow, a whole article detailing it. I was stunned, Ebby said, by the scope and the scale of the transnational crime that is alleged in this presentation. I know that BC is in the grips of an opioid crisis that is costing hundreds of millions of dollars, and it is costing hundreds of lives. I don't know what more I need to say. You know, just like the last episode, and I meant it when I said it. Okay, like how Nick Fuentes covers the Jewish influence on American politics and American life, we need to have that exact same energy targeted at China. Absolutely. Some of these people that are in our country, that are allied with them, whether it's the gangs or just average everyday citizens that are going on these plans, that are going along with them, they can be compromised, and we need to look at them through the exact same lens. With all due respect, right? China will find the pain points. China will find ways to pressure them. And this is the threat that we have to live under? For what? We can deal with this. This is manageable. We have police forces. We have the RCMP. We have CSIS. We have all of these different machinations and different ways to deal with this problem, but we're not fucking doing it. We're not doing it because what? We want to appear nice? Because cracking down on them would be unpopular politically? Meanwhile, what? Millions of people die from overdoses, gang violence, what have you. Our own people get poisoned. And we're doing deals with this country? Are you off your fucking rocker? How are these people in any way, right? The people that support this deal, the people that are clapping and agreeing with Carney, how can this administration stand there and say it's better to deal with China than it is with Trump? You know, a lot of people I saw on Twitter, whether it was politicians or journalists, they were just very blasé about it. Oh, who cares? Whatever. At least we have somebody else. You know, it's better than dealing with Trump. China is literally working to undermine Canada's internal and external security. They are poisoning our people. They are fucking with our real estate. They are messing with our economy, and we make an overture to them? This is the devil that we have to make the deal with? I have no words. Words fail me. I mean, the level of this kind of betrayal, insane. Insane. And with the amount of time that I spent on the story, unfortunately, I'm not going to get to the Greenland story that I wanted to cover. That'll come for another day, but we got to give the devil his due here, because Jesus fucking Christ. How can this be allowed? How is this our foreign policy? The person that stabs us in the back, the person that actually hurts us actively, we're making deals with them? Who is benefiting from this? we're getting fucked twice because we're getting fucked on the deal. We accept these EVs, right? These electric vehicles as part of, Carney's deal, as he was saying. And for what? Why are we letting them in to our intelligence services? Why are we making any attempt at collaboration with them? Any information we share with China, they're going to find a way to use it against us. Why would we volunteer any information to them freely? Why would we do that to an adversarial nation? I don't understand. Why would you say that this is an open collaboration? What, China's actually going to investigate its own people? They're going to investigate which labs are sending how much fentanyl to us? They're going to give us a hint every now and then. It's fucking Minesweeper. they're going to we're playing a game of Battleship. China's going to tell us where to look? Really? Insane. Absolutely fucking insane. Let's follow the next link. Narcotics trafficking. Let me guess. It's going to be that same exact story that I mentioned earlier. Oh, this is a different one. This is a whole report in 2021 on Canada-China relationships. Let me see how much fentanyl pops up. Oh, fentanyl pops up 34 times. How much does China pop up here? Oops. Misspelled China. 23 times. Nice. Generally speaking, all goods entering Canada, including shipments from China, may be subject to more in-depth secondary examination. Yada, yada, yada. Oh, this is about the, okay. So this is a questioning period that they had. Understood. Need I go on? I mean, need I fucking go on? Here's a Globe and Mail headline. Chemicals used to make fentanyl are readily available in India and China, but the RCMP says those countries aren't an increasing threat. Oh, they aren't. They aren't. Even though I literally showed an example of the Canadian Border Services Agency with the fentanyl drop, they're not a concern? Who paid for this report? That one grab that they had in 2025. Where's the... Let me find the link. I literally just had it. Bear with me for 1 second. Here it is. So even though they had this large bust in 2025, China's not a big problem? Really? Okay, not sure how the RCMP came to that assessment. That's very interesting. Very interesting. So, in any case, Carney decided to make a deal. Knowing all of this, everything that I've talked about, he knows, right? He's seen the headlines. He's traveled all across Canada. He's spoken to people. He has entire teams of people. He is acutely aware of this. And the reason that I'm guessing that I'm willing to bet on that, is that it's actually worse if he doesn't know. Because if he doesn't know, then what the fuck are you doing as the prime minister if you're not aware of this issue? You can't plead ignorance on that level. You have committees. You have members of parliament. You have constant streams of communication flowing at you. How are you not aware of the opioid crisis and its sources in Canada? There's no way you can be that noseblind. There is absolutely no way. And if he is, then that's a greater crime, if anything. It's not that he knows and he doesn't care, or he's just, not looking in that direction of an issue with China. Is that he doesn't know, he's ignorant, that he's stupid to it. That would be even worse. Arguably. Wow, transnational crime. Let's see. CBC, quote, RCMP official won't say whether Chinese police stations are still operating in Canada. Great. Great. They're just straight up not gonna say it. Legendary. Actual fucking legends. And that was a short list. Okay, that was a short list of everything that Carney said, right? Everything that he just said, that China's going to help us to combat narcotics trafficking, transnational crime, cybercrime, and money laundering. None of that came to fruition. None of that will come to fruition because China's literally directly and I mean that word sincerely, not just flippantly, because I know it gets thrown around a lot. China is literally one of the perpetrators of all of these crimes. And Carney is saying that, oh, now we're going to work with Beijing. Now we're going to work with security officials. Now we're going to work with their intelligence services to crack down on all that crime. Really? I'm supposed to believe you off that? Okay. Do you also have a bridge that you'd like to sell me? Maybe 2, maybe 3 in Guangdong province or wherever the fuck. These people think we're fucking stupid. That's the more insidious thing about it. These people think that we're fucking stupid and that we don't know and that we won't pay attention. When somebody with, God, I've maybe not even a handful of viewers at this point. It's fucking, what, almost 3, it's 3 a.m. Barely anybody's watching this. Maybe a replay from the future. Right? And even somebody like me with barely any viewers or audience can figure this shit out. If a retard like me can figure it out, I guarantee you more and more Canadians are waking up every single day. And they're not going to tolerate it. They're not. Because once they wake up to realize just how fucked they are, they're going to be just as mad as me, if not more. And that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem for them, not for us. We'll be fine. But yeah, so that's Carney's other announcement. Let's see if oh, is this Carney eating his own words? Right? He talks about oh. So here's the moment. So the reporters finally, I mean, of all the times to bring it up, I guess now is the time. They decide to ask him, right? Based on what you said during the election, they are our top security threat. What do you got to say about that? In your own words, China is our top security threat, right? You said it. You ran on that position. That's what you said on the world stage. How do you defend? How do you plead?
Prime Minister, less than a year ago, you said that China was the biggest security threat to Canada. Do you still believe that?
The security landscape continues to change, and in a world that's more dangerous and divided, we face many threats. That's the reality, and the job, my responsibilities as Prime Minister, the job of the government, is to manage those threats. You manage those threats by building resilience, building security. You manage those threats through alliances. You manage those threats through engagement. And we're pursuing all of those. And I would say that, well, the threat environment has increased. The risks have multiplied. So too has our resilience and our engagement, which is protecting Canadians on balance.
But does that threat from China still exist?
I'll refer to my previous answer.
You know what? I'm going to go on record as saying this. I'd much rather have Carney bow down, like physically bow down, get on his knees and bow down in front of Trump one time and kiss his shoes than have my leader do this. I'd much rather, because a lot of the rhetoric, like I said online earlier today, everyone's like, "Oh, well, at least he's not dealing with Trump. At least he's not clowning himself instead of Trump." This is worse. This is way worse. Objectively, this is way worse. Because, you know, the idea that politicians lie is nothing new when everyone's aware of it. I get that. I'm not a child. I'm not retarded. I understand that. And most people do too. Politicians lie. Wow, what a hot take. No shit. Right? The whole thing is a theater. Right? They're trying to get you to pay attention to what they're saying and not what they're doing. But to understand politics, you have to actually look at what they're doing. And what he's doing here is he's lying. Not just lying, but lying so fucking blatantly that there is literally a top-down comparison. There's a 10-second clip refuting the word salad that he just put out for a minute. I mean, my God, the amount of no wonder these people get old. The amount of adrenaline that's pumping through your veins as you have to lie so badly on stage. I mean, if you're just a person with a conscience, that must be incredible. So I'm not surprised that these people have fucking thinning hairlines, and Obama goes gray within his first year, right? Because once again, roll the fucking tape.
I think we didn't have a chance to talk about anything internationally. I think the biggest security threat to Canada is China.
China, you say?
Yeah.
He's speaking so fast there that he's stumbling to say China. He's stumbling over his own words to say China. He can't get the sentence out fast enough. And that's not just because they're on a time limit. Right? That was the line he practiced. That was the campaign line that they agreed to. He knew that if he said that, he's like, all right, I'm going to hit a certain demographic. That message is designed for someone. I'm going to show people that I'm tough on China. And then months later, 6 months later, he's in China. I'm sorry for the vulgarity, but he's literally sucking them off. He's blowing the CCP and he's giving them all these gifts, all these great deals, and Canada's getting fucked. For what? Because trade delegations or rather trade relations with the US have bombed, they've tanked? Really? Right? For one reason or another, intentionally or otherwise, they've tanked. So as your alternative, you go to fucking China, who is once again poisoning our people. Right? Money laundering, the amount of foreign investment, right, into all these properties and all this land that nobody's living in, all these high-rises that are owned by the Chinese, citizens abroad, nobody lives in them, jacks our fucking housing prices up. They just use that as an asset. They flip that shit or they keep it as an investment, right? Meanwhile, Canadians can't even live in the high-rises. They just stay empty. And not just that, but the foreign interference, meddling in our election, in the last election cycle, right? And I'll show you proof of this. There was a story that ran that basically said China was looking for Carney to win. They wanted the Liberals to win. So I guarantee you, right, that the whole engine was behind making Carney win and the Conservatives lose. Right? When I mentioned that story about those that one area in Toronto, that one riding where they bust people in, it was to vote for a Liberal candidate. It was to vote against the Conservative. Because they knew that Carney was going to give them this deal. Because he has ties to Brookfield. Brookfield has billions of assets in China. They knew that it would be favorable for Liberals to win. And when Carney was asked about it, he's like, oh, I have no idea. I have no idea why China might take an interest in me. I have no idea. Why the Chinese Communist Party might want me to win. I have no clue. No idea. This guy supposedly knows how the world works. He knows how to talk to leaders. That's what he ran on. His whole platform was based on, I'm the insider guy. I know how to get the best deals. I know how to talk to these leaders. I know how the world works. And now all of a sudden he's saying, I don't know why China's taking an interest in me. You can't have it both ways. The liberals are trying to have their cake and eat it too, and they can't. Because the narrative, under the littlest of scrutiny, it falls apart. Which is why it is to no end maddening to live in Canada these days. Because if the media actually did their fucking jobs and they held these people to account and they asked the tough questions and they didn't let them get away with just running away, right, or saying some fucking word salad, if they actually pressed them on these questions, we wouldn't be living in this country as it is. We would be living in a much different country. The media, I'll go as far as to say this, because I post it on Twitter all the time. They're an enemy of the people. Okay, they are actively, like, corporate controlled media. Let me be specific. Corporate media in Canada, and I'd say North America largely, they are an enemy of the people. And that's not to say that independent journalists are saints or that they're all perfect. Absolutely not. There's plenty of problems with each of those independent outlets, whether it's Rebel News or people on Substack, what have you, right? But these people that work in the corporations that push the news agendas every single day, they are enemies of the people, at least up here in Canada. I can say that with full confidence. And the reason that I say that is not just because I have some axe to grind or I hate them or I hate their opinions. No, it's because they don't fucking hold these people to account. They don't do their jobs. You know, for those that don't know, Canadian media, to an extent, I think like a good chunk, like maybe 30% of it or something, is subsidized by the taxpayer. Let me repeat that again. Canadians pay taxes that go towards, a chunk of it goes towards media conglomerates. The Toronto Star, the Globe and Mail, Vancouver Sun, what have you, they all get funding from the government. Okay? They all get funding from the government. So do you really think that in a landscape where the media has to they have to compete with a teenager on TikTok for views and for attention, do you really think that they're going to bite the hand that feeds them? Just like this CBC, it's a state media outlet. They're not going to go hard against the liberals because they're in charge. Right now, the liberals are the head niggas in charge. And the media is not going to actually have any teeth or ask any important questions, right? Whether it's the conflicts of interest, right? They just asked a handful of questions running up to the election, and they haven't said shit since. They haven't said anything. Like this is the country that we live in. We get what we deserve. We absolutely get what we deserve. We voted for this guy. We voted the liberals in for the third, fourth, however fucking whatever time, however many elections we've had now. I've lost count. We keep voting these people in. We keep doing it to ourselves. And even though we have evidence of the current prime minister saying that China is the single greatest national security threat to Canada just months ago, now he's come out with a trade deal and he's pushing for further integration with China. What does that tell you? That should tell you everything that you need to know about Canada and the state of Canada as a country. Because this guy, he's just the ringleader. He's got people around him. They believe this shit. Okay, as I showed in the clips before, all of these little moments that they've had along the way in their trip, all these little caveats and decisions they've had to make peace with the fact that they're here in China, they have to make this deal. This is who these people are. And when it comes to election time, right, which can happen at any moment in Canada or just about, we need to remember that. We need to remember what they did to us, to our industries, to our security, to our livelihoods, to our most vulnerable. For fuck's sake, China literally poisons our people, and we're rewarding them with a trade deal. I understand right? That we have to live in the real world, that we have to make some deals with devils. I get that. But you're telling me that there was no other option? China was the only way? This is the only way that we could replace trade? Because I didn't even state this before, but up until now, China has made up like about 4% of our exports. America makes up around, I think it's like 70%. I believe it's 70% or so. Let me just 76. They make up 76, almost 80% of our exports. We have a land border with the single greatest economy on the face of the planet, one of the most technologically advanced nations, one of the most industrious nations, literally known as the land of opportunity. We have a 76% of our exports going to them, and we're turning to China, which, you know what? I'll end the stream in a bit, but I want to end off on this point. All of this, right? Whatever Carney's vision for it is, however much money Brookfield is going to make with their share prices, and how much profit he's going to make, regardless of any of that, right? At the end of the day, whatever your agreements, even if people are willing to excuse the fentanyl and the crime and everything that China does to us, the cybersecurity threats, everything, these police stations, even if you want to ignore all of that, right? If we are being realpolitik, right, the politics of power, if we were just looking at it just completely stone-faced, no emotions, just trying to get the GDP up or whatever the fuck, if we're just being cold and calculated for a second, okay? Let's just consider this. What do you think the US is going to do knowing that that their neighbor, their trading partner, whose majority of trade counts on them, what do you think the US is going to do when they realize that there's now a nation above them, directly above them, that is so massively intertwined for 200 plus years now? Okay? What do you think they're going to do when they have a state above them that is now influenced even more by China than it used to be before? Do you think they're going to respond that with kindness, or do you think hostility? Like, do we really think long term this is going to benefit us in any way? Carney's gone, right? You might as well just consider him gone. He'll be gone in a couple of years. That's fine. These trade deals, right, the way that they're set up, who knows if the next guy is even going to cancel them? Who knows what's going to happen in 5, 10 years, however many years, right? All the administrations that we go through, the elections that we have, who's to say that any of this is going away anytime soon? This intertwining of China and all of these MOUs that have been signed, right? Whether it's for cultural reasons, like now Canadians can visit China without a visa, right? They want to have an intertwining with the intelligence agencies. Who knows what kind of effects that's going to have down the road? I mean, I fail to see the positives here. What, $3 billion to the soybean industry or something? Cool. EVs that are cheaper? Wow, so great. Meanwhile, we lose security. Our own auto manufacturing sector is going down the shitter. How is any of this Canada first? This is black and white. You know, I saw some Canada first people sitting on the fence today, just being like, oh, well, you know, whatever. I don't want it to be a pro-China or pro-US country. I want it to be either way. There was a clear choice. There was no denying this. This is not an ambiguous choice. This isn't a gray area. There's one nation that is actively trying to undermine us, our security, our way of life, the health of our people, our financial stability. And then there's America. Which, fine, okay, so you pissed off Trump. Apologize to him. Carney did apologize to him for the ad. Restart trade relations. Give some concessions. How is that in any way not better than what China has done to our people and continues to do to our people, and without any evidence of any, any alternative, is going to keep doing to our people? I'm at a loss, and I hate that I am, because this whole show is just based on me fucking yapping, but I'm having a hard time finding the words to understand why we're doing this. Right? And not in the why as in what are the motivations. I've already stated those. Carney stands to win, right? For a moment in the polls, they might get a bump because they can say, "Oh, look at us! We're finally replacing all the trades that we lost with the U.S." Right? That entire the 70% exports to the U.S. Now we're trying to regain them in China instead. Okay, but the average everyday Canadian is going to be paying the price. You ask anybody in a small town or anybody who's worked in the restaurant industry, they know just about at least one person that's died of fentanyl. Right? Somebody that's had a hard time finding a place to live because we have too many foreign buyers of land. Right? Like the after effects of this happening, the ripple effects of this deal and everything that comes afterwards is going to be felt by the average everyday Canadian. Just so that our politicians can stand on the world stage and say what? They're defending our rights, they're defending our freedoms, they're fighting for Canada, they're building industry. This whole thing is based on a lie. China is not going to go net zero. Okay? China is not going to willingly provide us with information about what's happening with the crimes that they're causing in our own nation. And even if they do, it's like, okay, cool. So the fox in the henhouse is saying where he's going to go or when he's going to show up. Really? That's the deal that we're fucking making? Are you serious? Instead of bolstering our own security, instead of bolstering our own investments into our own nation. You know what? I'll finish off with this little chart because this is incredible. This is all you have to see, okay? And I'm pretty sure I showed this the other day. But this company, Wealthsimple, it's a money management app. They posted this chart the other day that showed Canadian firms haven't been investing in manufacturing since 2015, which is around the time that Justin Trudeau became prime minister. Do you notice that huge fucking dip that we take compared to the US? They've almost doubled their investments in industrial equipment. We have completely cratered to below 1985 levels. We haven't seen levels this low in 40 years. 40 years. Look at all this buildup that happened all the way up until 2010. Do you realize how much money that takes? How much effort that takes? How many social policies? I mean, the amount of work that had to be done in order to get to that peak. And obviously around 2010, 2008 recession, sure, we dipped, but we were still at nominal levels. And just fucking cratered. People are leaving this country. Investments are going elsewhere. Okay, the Prime Minister's budget office, right, when the latest budget, right before it got published for the federal government, he said this position is untenable. This is a point of no return. We cannot keep living this way. And this deal that Carney is striking, right, all these concessions that he's making to China, all these great things, oh, $3 billion to the soybean industry, 49,000 cars, oh, great. That's going to benefit us in the long term? Maybe. Maybe financially. Maybe it'll get our unemployment up slightly, even for a moment. But this is not the way to sustainable growth. We have to build up our industry. We have to build up our security. We have to deal with the immigration issues. Right? Like, none of this is Canada first. Do not be fooled by it. Because once again, if you've taken anything from this episode, right, as I said before, politics is not like actually understanding politics. It's not about listening to what these people have to say. It's actually looking at their actions, which is why I've had these comparisons and all these old stories up, because if you just rewind back to 6 months ago, these people are doing the exact opposite of what they said they would do. And if you look at into the details long enough, you'll see, oh, there's actually conflicts of interest. These people stand to gain money. They stand to gain status or what have you. So no, this is untenable. And the fact that anybody is praising this deal in Canada, they have lost the plot completely. Anybody and everybody that has done that today on Twitter or continues to do so in public needs to be ushered out of public life. Out of polite society, rather. Because they do not have the interest in the ideals of Canada in mind. Maybe they have foreign allegiances, but even if they don't, they misunderstand the issue of Canada to such a great extent that they cannot be allowed to have power. That is how dire our our current system is. That is absolutely mission critical. We cannot let these people be in power. They are actively hurting our country. All they're doing is bolstering themselves and their friends for financial gain or political gain or cultural gain. And the rest of us are fucking paying for it. So, as I mentioned before, Canadians have this chip on their shoulder. At least we're not America. In a lot of ways, we're fucking worse. Because we're doing it to ourselves. We keep stepping on these fucking rakes. We keep falling for it. Here you go. Here's another You Fell For It award. It's beyond embarrassing. It's shameful. It's absolutely shameful what we've done to this country, what we've allowed to happen to this country. We deserve better, each and every one of us. And I don't know how much else I have to say on that. I mean, there's plenty of other details and notes that you'll see that I haven't touched upon, but we're getting into the wee hours of the morning here, so I'm gonna have to head off. Look, even with all that negativity, right? I don't want to be alarmist, but even with all that, the white pill here, right? The white pill here is that even somebody like me, even internet retard like me, can go out and just find these basic facts. I pulled all this within the last 2 days, right? Anybody can do a deep dive into this, and it doesn't even take a deep dive. All you have to do is just ask AI and ask it to provide you sources of news organizations or the government themselves, and it will provide you plenty of facts to show you that what they say and what they tell you is actually not the truth. It's not. Couldn't be further from it. It really couldn't be further from it. I mean, that's the white pill here, is that it's so easy to expose the lies and the absolute just manipulation of emotions that Canadians are going through. We're being gaslit by our government and by our media. And as I said, these corporate journalists, they are the enemy of the people. They don't have our best interests in mind. They are not Canada first. They're not asking the tough questions. Or if they are, they're not doing it enough. Because they should be putting the screws to these people. But I guess just for one reason or another, they just don't care to. Or they find it more politically advantageous to not do so. And the white pill here is that just about any citizen who has the time and the due diligence to do something like this can at any moment. And that's the first step. That's the first step. At the White Pill Project, I have a couple things that I'm working on that will hopefully help solve, or at least in some way make a dent in some of these issues down the line. And as we go on, I'll talk about them more. Because look, as fun as it is to yap here, right, and to sit and talk with you guys, there has to be some action at the end of the day. It can't just be all Twitter crusading. It has to actually go somewhere beyond voting. Okay, amassing influence, having an audience, being able to target all that energy towards precise goals, right? That's the end game here. The end game is Canada first, period. Full stop. That's what we're here for. So, with that being said, I thank each and every one of you for tuning in. As always, you can find everything at bio.link/whitepill, which will be in the description. Like I said before, if you want to support the stream, like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And I appreciate every one of you, each and every one of you, for taking the time to listen. Let's just see if we have any questions here. Give me 1 second. Let me just double check the chat. Beautiful. Okay. With that being said, I hope you have all had a terrific end to your week. We'll see you guys next Monday. Not sure what we'll talk about. Probably Greenland, because I didn't even get to that today. This China deal, holy shit, man. This threw me for a loop today. Not just because I couldn't believe it, but because, I could believe it. I kind of sensed this is where it was going throughout the week, but I couldn't believe the reaction that the average Canadian had to it on Twitter. And I know that like some of them are bots, and I get it. Taking that energy with you is not healthy, and you shouldn't have too much of it in your life. But it is good to keep your ear on the ground. And yeah, taking that pulse for Canada today, it felt very strange. It felt very strange that this was getting any positive attention whatsoever from actual people, journalists and politicians alike, and people that own businesses and work in think tanks and all that. You could see all of them on the timeline today. But hey, we keep trucking on. We keep trucking on regardless. So yeah, thank you to each and every one of you that's tuned in. I will see you guys Monday, and I hope you have yourselves a great night.